now the associate pastor in a Lutheran church in Santa Monica, one of the largest in Southern California. She loved to jog daily on the beach. She ate locally produced organic foods, and she found passion in her work. Each day brought new challenges and new possibilities. Rachel was a rising star in ministry, and it was clear that her future was full of promise. Well, as the months went by, Rachel began having more and more struggles. She got along with the senior pastor, but they had such different personalities. And while that was good for the balance of the congregation, when you're the one who's the associate, it can be stifling. There were days when she wondered if she was in the right place at all. But then there would be other times with surprising affirmations, and Rachel was confident that she was exactly where she needed to be. Plus, she was near the beach. Who could ask for a better location? From the outside looking in, Rachel looked as stable as they come. She was one who could not be shaken. She was like the temple in Jerusalem, steady, a constant, one that others could always count on being there. But on the inside, Rachel was tired. She found herself sneaking in naps almost every day. Maybe she was depressed, or avoiding, or just not fulfilled. But sometimes those naps would be unintentional, and it was embarrassing when she would find herself dozing off at inopportune times. Maybe she just needed to get more sleep at night, or take more vitamins, or go for some more of those jogs on the beach. She hadn't felt up to doing as many of those lately. And then one day, Rachel was getting a haircut, and her hairdresser noticed some swelling. It wasn't painful, and her hair could cover it, but it just didn't look right. Rachel was pretty sure that it was just a minor infection. She'd keep an eye on it. It would go away in a week or two. It had to, because frankly, she didn't have the time or energy to make a doctor's appointment for some silly glandular thing. But it didn't go away. And then Rachel made the mistake of accidentally mentioning it to her mother. Mom was not going to let this one pass. She nagged and harped until Rachel finally relented and made that appointment. Sitting there reluctantly being examined by the doctor, she was asked questions. Well, how long had that swelling been there? A few weeks? A few months maybe? She really wasn't sure. And the fatigue, how long had she been fatigued? Well, she was a pastor. Of course she was fatigued. There was always another meeting or a new program or a sermon to write. She loved it, but there was always something. But this fatigue, yeah, it was different. There was a new depth to it. She thought back and remembered how she used to jog every day on the beach. And come to think about it, it had actually been a couple months since she'd been jogging. And the last time hadn't been for nearly as far or as fast. Well, then came the testing. The blood test and the urine test, those weren't that big of a deal. The imaging test was interesting, but it was kind of scary. Rachel tried to put on a brave front. And then it seemed that something in the scans or the blood work just wasn't as it should be. So the doctor was going to need to take out one of her lymph nodes and biopsy it. Rachel had this whole debate going in her head with who she should share this information with. Her mother had been the one who had made her promise to go to the doctors, but without any firm results, she didn't want to worry her mom needlessly. She wanted to talk to her sister about it, but she was pretty sure that her sister couldn't keep her mouth shut and would tell their mother. And her congregation, she coveted their prayers. She knew that they would be prayer warriors for her. And yet there's this silly pride where she wanted to be strong for them. So finally, she talked to her best friend from college, to Kelly. Kelly had always been there for her, and she could trust her to be discreet. They talked a lot in that next week. That week before she got the results from the biopsy back. It seemed like an eternity. Rachel had never known a week that could last so long. And then when the results came in, the nurse wouldn't even give them to her over the phone. She had to come in. And as she was sitting, not in the exam room, but in the doctor's office, she had a sinking feeling in her stomach as she was told that she had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Apparently, the kind she had a 78% chance of survival. The doctor told her that like it was good news. But all Rachel could think about was the other 22%. Who were the other 22%? Would she be part of the other 22%? And then came more testing, and then the treatment. This was war. This was a war within her own body. This disease was leading her astray, off the path she wanted to be on. She had not asked for this. The next few weeks seemed like a haze. Rachel had to have these conversations telling her senior pastor about her diagnosis, and then her bishop, and then her congregation. But first, she had to tell her mother. That was the hardest conversation. How do you tell your mother that you only have that there's a 22% chance that you might not survive? Rachel's world was turned upside down. It was as if there was an earthquake that split the ground right at her feet, and it was all she could do to not slip in. She had to resign her position with her congregation in order to face this battle head on. And battle she did. Rounds of chemotherapy and radiation, complete with all the side effects. Loss of hair, vomiting, diarrhea, these sores that appeared in her mouth, a tingling in her fingers and on her feet. And all she wanted to do was sleep all day, every day, round after round, never giving up, never alone. Because even settling down, even when she curled up to sleep on the bathroom floor, Rachel knew that Jesus was with her, carrying her, surrounding her. And even if she was part of that 22%, everything would be all right, because Jesus was there too. Well, everything is all right. It's now been about a year since the haircut, and Rachel just received word that she is cancer-free. No more treatments are needed. Her future is full of promise. Soon she will begin serving at another congregation where she is a good fit and where she has the gifts that are exactly what they need. A place to heal, a place to thrive. The stones of the temple must have looked huge to the disciples that day in Jerusalem. But they all came crashing down. We all have had times where the rug has been pulled out from under us. A punch to the gut. Fear causing us to panic. Feeling terror that the world as we know it is in danger. These wars and rumors of war, they are always with us. Throughout all of history, they have always been there. This is nothing new. But the good news is that Jesus is here. God is in our midst. We do not have to battle alone. God is with us in our tears, in our questions, in our helplessness, in our powerlessness, in our brokenness, through our own wars and battles and earthquakes, even when we have been led astray. Everything is all right. Because of Jesus' death and resurrection, we have been given new life. And even when it looks like it might be the end, it is only the beginning. The future is full of promise. Amen.